Thank you for joining me and watching my tutorial. I'd like to start right at the very beginning and show you everything you need to know. Welcome to how to crochet a granny square. This is my full-size Sophie's Universe that I wanted to show you. So once you can do the granny square, then this is what you can eventually aim for. Now what we're aiming for is something like that. To the yarn, I'm going to demonstrate with this really very thick sort of handmade French knitting yarn and a very thick crochet hook, just so that you can really see what I'm doing. But these are just standard crochet squares, and I've used a 4mm crochet hook and double knitting yarn. Now when you buy the yarn on the ball band, it usually says what sort of needle size or what sort of hook size you need to crochet with it. Then if you find that the fabric is acceptable, then you can stick with that crochet hook. If you find that it's too tight, then you can go up a size, or if it's all too loose and loopy, then that might be because you're a beginner, or if you have more experience, then really you could go down a hook size. So let's start. You have the ball end of the yarn, and out of this yarn the crochet hook forms the loops. And so if you think about it, then when you're crocheting, the yarn has to in some way go through your fingers, and you have to be able to make the loops. So if you can imagine, this is my crochet hook and I'm crocheting away, you have to be able to tension the yarn in your left hand in some way so that it doesn't just slide through your fingers, and so that you don't hold on to it too tight and your work gets too tight. And the way I do it is I go over the index and the middle finger, I go under the ring finger and over the little finger, so that I can pinch here and tension the yarn, and so that I have a hand hold where it can go over these sort of sections of your finger, and you know, you can sort of crochet along with that length of yarn. So I'll do that again. I'll keep showing the hand hold, because that really can get quite complicated for a lot of people. But in order to start, so right at the very beginning, you have to do a slip knot in your yarn. The easiest way of doing that is if you have the ball end here and the loose end on the right, you take the loose end and make a loop. You take the loop and fold it over the ball end of your yarn. So this is the yarn going to the ball, and that forms a sort of pretzel shape. And then you just take this hook and pick it up, and if you pull both ends, both ball end and loose end, you get a slip knot. And now if you pull on the ball end of the yarn, the slip knot slides up and becomes smaller. So let me cover the yarn hold again. When you're crocheting, you can imagine that this loose end will eventually be a whole granny square, and you'll just have the one loop dangling from there. So you have to pinch the slip knot, the loose end, just below the slip knot, and the ball end of the yarn has to go over two fingers, under the ring finger, and over the little finger. So that is the yarn hold. The left hand tensions the yarn, the right hand only holds the hook, and then you pinch the work immediately below the slip knot with index finger and thumb. So let's get started. I have my slip knot, I have my hook. Now if you look at the slip knot end on, I'll just take the hook out, you can see that it's a teardrop shape, and it's narrow at the bottom and round at the top. Now if I take the hook and I slip it through like so, pointing upwards, then it just hooks. And if I slip it, turn the point down and then slide it through, it comes out quite easily. And that's quite handy to remember. So you have the yarn in position like this. If you take it and scoop the yarn from in front and underneath, then the hook holds the yarn there, and then you turn it down slightly so that you can go through that loop, and you've formed one chain. So let me show that again. You have it pointing towards you, so the hook on the crochet hook is pointing towards you. You go underneath this length of yarn and scoop it from in front and underneath, and then as if to catch it, you turn the hook slightly downwards and go through the chain, forming another chain. Slightly faster now. And as the chain grows, you grab a bit closer. So you can see the work is growing here, and I'm pinching with these two fingers, index finger and thumb. And because I have my middle finger raised, I have this length of yarn that I can grab. And watch how the yarn slides through the other fingers in a sort of measured way, so that it's not going through too slowly and also not too fast. Okay, so that's the chain stitch. Now the chain is important because that's how you start the granny square in the middle. So if you look at this sort of turquoise greeny centre, the very round bit in the middle will be where the initial chain was that you started with. Now chains have a sort of, if you look at it this end on, they have a sort of teardrop shape, like each loop, like the slip knot and like the loop on the end. And if you turn it over, then they have a single stitch on the back. That's just out of interest, and it'll become a little bit more important later on when you're joining to a round. So I've got my ball end on the left now, and I take my loose end and I lay it over, so the loose end is on top. Then I take this loop and I flip it over the yarn going to the ball end, and I have this length of yarn going to the ball end. I pick that up with my crochet hook. Then I pull on the ball end to make the loop smaller, and I pinch here and tension the yarn in my left hand. People who crochet constantly readjust how the yarn is held in the left hand so that it's perfect. To start the granny square, I'm going to do a chain for the centre, so I'm going to do a chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's my chain, and I'm going to join it to the round by poking the crochet hook into the first chain. So I have a sort of horseshoe on my crochet hook. Then I'm going to hold the hook, pinch it at the bottom, grab the yarn again with the crochet hook, so I'll show that again from in front and underneath, and then I'm going to take that yarn through both loops. Now this is a slip stitch, and this fastens the chain together, so through both loops, and it fastens it to a ring. Okay, now from that ring, now this is the ring that I'm going to be working the first round into. So if you look at the very small square with only 2 rounds, I'm doing the equivalent of the yellow round at the moment. I've done the ring, and all of these stitches, all of the yellow stitches are worked into the central ring, and that is the ring that I've just made here. Just try and disregard this loose end, it's very annoying. So now I'm going to teach you the treble crochet stitch, and in order to get up to the correct height for the treble crochet stitch, you normally do either 2 or 3 chains. Now officially it is 3, but some people can find that that's too loose and loopy and only do 2. But because it's meant to be 3, I'm going to do 3 now. And that chain of 3 represents the first treble crochet stitch, so it counts as a stitch. And now each of the other stitches is going to be at the same height as that, and I'm up here working them at the right, sort of in the right position. The best way to do that is to pinch the chain with thumb and index finger so that the nail of the thumb is immediately above this space that you're going to work into. I'll teach you the treble crochet stitch now. You take the yarn over the needle like so. It helps if you put your index finger on it, that helps it not to slip off. Then you take the hook and you insert it into that space from front to back. When it's poking out the back, you grab the yarn and pull the yarn forward through the space that you've reached into, so that you have 3 loops on the hook. Then you grab the yarn again from in front underneath and pull it through only 2 loops. Grab the yarn again and pull it through the last 2 loops. And now you can see I have a treble crochet stitch next to my chain of 3, and perhaps you could consider that my chain was a little bit too loose, so maybe I should only do 2 chains. Let me repeat that. You do the yarn over, you go into the space. When you're at the back, you take the hook and grab the yarn and pull it forward through the space that you went into. Then you have 3 loops on the hook. You grab the yarn again and pull it through only 2 loops. Then you grab the yarn again and go through the last 2 loops. So now you have the chain 3, which counts as 1 stitch, and you have another 2 trebles, and that is one of these shells. The next thing that happens is you have a corner that you have to make, and the corner in this pattern has 2 chains, so 1, 2. And now again, working into the same space, I'm going to do another 3 trebles. When you've got a chain here, the first treble can be a little bit floppy or tricky, but that doesn't matter. So yarn over into the space, grab the yarn at the back and pull it forward, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2. So that's the first treble out of 3. So now a little bit faster. 3 on the hook, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2. As you're working, these trebles tend to go more and more around the ring, so you can sort of nudge them back, pull them back together, so that you have these trebles sitting nicely together as a unit. So I've done 1, 2 trebles. I need a 3rd treble to make up that shell. So that's number 3. That would be the equivalent of having done that one and that one. So now I do another chain of 2 for the next corner, 1, 2. And again, working into the same middle space, I do 3 trebles. So yarn over, into the space, grab the yarn, bring it forward, 3 on the hook, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2. Number 1, number 2, and number 3. So that's 1, 2, 3 shells, and I just need 4 in order to make a granny square. So the next corner, first, second chain, so 2 chains, then 3 trebles, 1, 2, 3. So again, my trebles have gone all the way around the ring, and they started going over my initial chain 3, so I can just nudge them back. Now I need a 4th corner to complete the square, and then when I join it together, then I'll have the first round of the granny square. So where to join to? Now this is an interesting one, because you have the chain 3 at the beginning of the round. Oh, there's a bit of grass or whatever on there. So, okay. So this is the treble, and if you look at the treble, this is the chain at the top of the treble, and this is my chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And you recognize the top of the chain 3 by looking at this treble and seeing where the next chain is pointed down. If you see, this one is lying horizontal, and this one is lying down at a sort of almost 45-degree angles, some people even more. Now, what I was saying earlier about what a chain looks like, this is interesting now, because you can just poke into the top of the chain 3 under one loop, grab the yarn, go through there and through the initial chain and join it together. That would join the first round. Or what you could also do, and this is a little bit neater, is if you join under both of these loops of the top of the chain 3, so 1, 2, 3, third chain, you go, it has both of these sort of legs, as it were, and at the back it has one loop, like I showed you right at the beginning with the chain that we made. If you go under this one and under that one, then you've gone under both of these loops at the top, and at the back you just have one loop. And this produces really quite a neat join, and is only possible if the top chain of the chain 3 is not too tight. Now, beginners do tend to make it very tight, and then you can just poke into the middle of it and join. So let me show you that slip stitch one more time. So you've done your chain 2 corner there, and you go under both of these loops of the chain, third chain that you did right at the beginning, and then, oh, I was doing it faster than I was talking. You take the hook and grab the yarn, take it through there and through the loop that was originally on your hook, and that is a slip stitch to join. You'll notice that there's quite a large hole in the middle, and what you can do is you have this loose end, and you can, when you weave in the ends, pull it really tight and close the gap. Now, in order to end this round, you can pull the loop so that it's larger. I don't want to cut this because I use it for teaching, so I'll just take it and pull it through, but you would then cut it there, and that would end the first round. In order to start the second round, changing colour, you get your next yarn. Oh, where's my end? There you are. Now, the next round, so if you can imagine, we've done the yellow round, and now the next round is the turquoise round, which has one corner here, one corner there, one corner there, one corner there, and each of these corners has a new chain 2 to form the next corner, if you see what I mean. Each of these is worked into a corner space, so we're no longer working into the middle, we're working into the 4 corner spaces that you formed. So let me show them. 1, 2, 3, 4 corner spaces. So you're going to start off in a corner space by poking your yarn through. The simple way to join in a new colour is just to lay the yarn over, pull it up, pinch the loose end together with your work, put the yarn over your hand, and just start crocheting. 1, 2, 3. But some people find that that slides around horribly, and do find that they are more comfortable if they have a slip knot on the hook. So there's my slip knot, but I don't actually put it on yet. I first put the hook through the corner space, then I slide the slip knot with the new yarn onto my work, put the yarn in position over my hand, and pinch the work with the new loose end, and then from that position I take the yarn over and pull up a loop, and now I'm going to just chain 2 to see if that's going to make it a bit nicer. You will find that a lot of designers write patterns and only specify a chain 2 for a treble, even though it's meant to be a chain 3. Never mind, so let's do a chain 2 now and you can see the difference. I'm going to do 2 trebles into this corner space. Now, with this chunky yarn, that slip knot is actually quite large. So that's my second treble. Chain 2 and 2 trebles. Now I'm going to do a corner space with 2 chains, and working into the same corner space I'm going to do another 3 trebles. So 1, yarn over into space, 3 on the hook, through 2, through 2, and again. And there, the initial round had 4 shells, and the next round will have 8, and they're in pairs worked into the corner space. Between these corner units, there's 1 chain, and then I swap and work in the next corner. So I swap to the next corner space, and I'll do 3 trebles. So 1, 2, 3, chain 2 for the next corner, and another 3 trebles into the same space. So there you have another pair of shells, 3 trebles, chain 2, 3 trebles into that corner space. Then another chain 1, and now I'm going to swap to this corner space. So again, 1, 2, 3 trebles, chain 2, and another 3 trebles into the same space. Whoops. There you are, another pair of shells separated by chain 2. Now I have chain 1 here, and then the last corner. So 1, 2, 3, and this is the 4th corner. You might have seen patterns for granny squares online, or charts for granny squares online, and may wonder actually why I do chain 2, why I do a chain 1 between the chain 2 corners and chain 1 here, because there are patterns that specify it differently. And really there are a multitude of granny square patterns, but this is just one that I've chosen. To start with, you could try another one once you've learned the basics. And then of course there are a lot of decorative granny squares with flowers, and oh, the list is endless. There's just loads. So another chain 1, and then you're ready to join to the top of the chain 2, and you can see that in actual fact my chain 2 is a bit short. I could have stuck with a chain 3. That's really quite a decent size, but never mind, I've done it this way now. So 1, 2, and you can see this is the treble here. The top of the treble is horizontal, and the first stitch that leans downwards, points downwards, that is the top of my chain. And I'll show you now the simple method of joining, where you just poke into the chain, grab the yarn, pull it through there, and pull it through the loop on your hook, and that joins it to a round. So that's round 2 of the granny square. Now it's all a lot of fun. If you would like to continue with with this colour without changing colour, then you're now there at the top of your chain, but the next round starts in the corner. So on this pattern it does, and you'll need to get across from here to there to start the next round. So the easy way to do this is to slip stitch across, and you do that by going under both legs at the top of the treble. So let me show you that again. This is the treble, this is the sort of chain that at the top of the treble, and if you poke only under those 2 strands, grab the yarn, pull it through there and through the loop on your hook. Don't do that too tight. And then under the next 2 strands at the top of the next treble, treble, grab the yarn through there and through the loop on the hook, then you've already come across all the way. Now in the corner space you don't get under the 2 strands, you just go into the space, grab the yarn, bring it back through the space and through the loop there, and now you're in position to start doing your chain. So I will do a chain 3 now, as you should. Chain 3 counts as the first treble, and then I can just carry on and do the next round of my granny square. So 3 trebles, so chain 3 and 2 trebles make 3 trebles, chain 2 and another 3 trebles, 1, 2, 3, so that's a corner again. And now what's different on this third round is that you have sides. You have a side to your square before doing the next corner. So it's chain 1 and then the side is just 3 trebles into this space at the side. And then you separate it with another chain 1 and you do another corner. So the corners are 3 trebles, chain 2, 3 trebles. So there's the 3 trebles, chain 2 and another 3 trebles into the same space. 1, 2, 3. And that is the next corner with a pair of shells in the corner space. Now I'm on to the next side again, so I separate it with a chain 1 and then I do 3 trebles into this side space. The side space was formed by doing a chain 1 previously, in the previous round I mean. So that's the side, another chain 1, and now I'm at a corner again. So the corner is 3 trebles, 2 chains, 3 trebles. But I do think I'm going to run out of green thick yarn. I might have to start another colour in the middle of the round, a bit like a sort of scrappy granny square for charity. I can show you how to do that too. There you are, 3, chain 2 and another 3 trebles, and now I'm up to my chain 1 and another 3 trebles into the side space. 1, 2. The way to join in a new yarn is that you complete this stitch, the last step of the stitch, in the new colour. So you do yarn over, you go into the space, grab the yarn 3 on the loop, 3 on the hook I mean, yarn over through 2, and now the last step would be yarn over through 2, and that last step is just done in the new yarn. Now with a scrappy blanket you would have a different colour perhaps, or if you were just starting a second ball in the same green, then that's how you would join it in. Now I'm ready to do chain 1 and then the last corner. So yarn over, 3 on the hook, yarn over through 2, 1, 2, 3, yarn over through 2, that's the 2 chain corner, and it's 3 trebles, chain 2, 3 trebles, and then another chain before I do the last side. Whoops, that one slipped out, it happens to the best of us. There you are, so chain 1, and then I'm ready to join to a round. So again, my chain 3, 1, 2, 3, this is the top of my chain 3, so the top chain. You can see on this treble the top chain is horizontal, and here at the top of the chain 3 the strand leans downwards at quite a steep angle. I think it's not too tight, so I'm going to try joining under both strands, and it often helps to go under one and then go under the other. So there you can see I'm under those 2 strands. I grab the yarn and slip stitch through that space that I went through and through the loop that was on my hook, and that's the 3rd chain completed, albeit with changing the colour in the middle. I hope this has helped you to be able to sort of practice what you've learnt in the lesson, so that you can practice it at home, and I hope that you're soon producing blankets with squares that look like so or like so. For weaving in the yarns, the main principle is always to weave in on the same colour. So I would take a tapestry needle. I won't actually do it with this very thick yarn, but I will show you what you would use. So this is a wool sewing needle or a tapestry needle. It has a large eye so that the wool can go into it, and it has a blunt or a rounded end. And you would thread the yarn onto your tapestry needle like so, and you would have it like so. And then for the purple in the middle, you would go under these strands like so, all the way around, and you could go even further. You'd pull the yarn through and then miss out one loop and come back on yourself and pull it through, then miss out one loop and go under 2 or 3. And when you pull it through, say I'd pulled it through and this was where I've ended, you can also, on the first go, as I said, you can pull so that the hole closes, and then when you've gone under, missed one, come back, missed one, gone back under again, then you cut off quite close so that the ends can't fray. You wouldn't thread in the purple ends until you'd done the green round, and then you could go back and thread in the purple. And the same if you did another round around the outside, then you would be able to thread in weave in the green one. The next video will cover joining squares together, and I'll show you different methods to join. So I'd love to see your granny squares, and you know, look forward to the next lesson.